Hi guys, this is Mr. Corn again, ready to do the next chapter, chapter 14 in our book. Chapter 14 is entitled Adverse Driving Conditions and Emergencies, and we're in the middle of that right now. Okay, we have winter snow, ice, all kinds of fun stuff we're dealing with out there on the roads. So you just got to be a little careful. Okay, so a couple things to think about. Okay, as you're thinking about this, emergencies happen. They happen all the time. But the one thing to think about is after looking at crashes, 37% of drivers involved took no action whatsoever to prevent or avoid the collision, which meant maybe you saw it too late or things were just not where they were supposed to be, whatever was going on. So you've got to be aware of that you got to be always conscious, always aware of what is going on around you. Okay. One of the things that the book says is it is recommended to have your headlights on at all times, day, night, sun, not sun, cloudiness, whatever, because it makes it easier for others to see your car. Okay, if you drive in the United States, they are not mandatory all the time. They got to be on obviously at night when the weather conditions prohibit you to see well, rain, snow, fog, etc. And they need to be on at dawn or dusk. Okay, so those times of days where it's kind of questionable as to what the light is doing. If you go over into Canada, they have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week law. The lights have to be on at all times. It's one of the reasons why most of our cars now have what they call daytime running lights. It means the lights are on all the time. Okay, you don't have to worry about them. I'm still old-fashioned enough. My car has daytime running lights. I turned them off, so I turn mine on and off manually by myself. But that's a personal preference. Most of our new cars are equipped with the daytime running lights. Okay. So you need to think of that. So you want to keep those lights on all the time. I have some students that tell me they leave them on all the time for their road test because then they don't have to worry if it starts raining or something during their road test. They don't have to remember to turn them on because they're already nervous enough. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with having those lights on anytime. Okay. Another thing to kind of think about is the airbag. I just want you to have a little idea about your airbag. The airbag is on there. It comes out of the steering wheel, out of the dashboard. Some of you on the sides, different places. A lot of our minivans now have what they call panel airbags, which go around the whole inside of the van. Okay, airbags are there for a good reason. They're a very important safety feature to your car. The one thing you have to remember is if you have the airbag, you still have to have the seatbelt. Okay, your airbag is rounded. Okay, if you hit that airbag and you don't have a seatbelt on, you're going to shift either left or right. So that's something you want to keep in mind. You want to have those seatbelts on as well. Currently in New York State, as of this past November, we passed a law that seatbelts have to be on all people, no matter where they're sitting in the car, no matter what their age is. So everybody in your car has to be belted. It's a good safety for you as a driver, because then that safety belt is there as protection for you. If you get into an accident and your passenger didn't have their seatbelt on and you told them to, that's their problem at that point. Okay, you're kind of protecting yourselves. I always recommend when you get in my car, and I've done it for years, you must wear your seatbelt. If you don't wear your seatbelt, get out of my car. Okay, sounds a little harsh, but again, if I get in an accident and my friend goes flying out the window because they're not belted, okay, that can come back to haunt me. Okay, if they die or get injured, I'm going to be held liable because I didn't do what I was supposed to do as a driver to keep that person safe. Okay, so have everybody belt up. It just makes life easier. You're not going to get tickets. They're also talking about how it could be a double ticket. The driver could get a ticket for not having the person belted, and the person could get a ticket for not belting themselves. So it's something you don't want to deal with right now. Okay, there's a neat question on my test here. It says your vehicle has 5 seats with safety belts, including the driver's seat. You have 6 people wanting to go somewhere. Okay, what is your best method of getting to where you have to go? Okay, it is not to lay your friend across the back seat across your buddies. Okay, it's to leave one person behind or get a second car. Okay, that's the safest way. Okay, that person laying across the back seat, which I've seen done before, becomes a projectile in an accident. That person could actually fly so much they can end up hitting the driver and the passenger in the front and kill them. Okay, so make sure that you just have enough people in the car with the enough amount of seatbelts you have. Okay, real important thing. Another thing we don't think about out here much, we don't lock our doors a lot. Okay, a lot of our new cars have what they call automatic door locks. So when you start driving the car, the locks go on. There's a really good reason for that. The reason for that is you are less likely to be ejected from the car in a rollover if your doors are locked. Less likely for that door to come pop open in an accident, okay, if it's locked. Can it happen? Of course. There's always exceptions to every rule, Okay, so just have those doors locked while you're driving the car. I lock mine in my driveway too, but I grew up outside of Buffalo, so I'm used to locking my car all the time. I also lived in Baltimore, Maryland, which is a high theft area, so I locked my car every time I left my car anywhere. I'd leave it for 5 seconds, I'd lock it. I know around here, we pull in the yard, sometimes we leave our keys in the car around here. Just be aware that you probably want to lock it if you're going other places other than, Wyoming County. I know here in Perry at the IGA, you could leave your car running with the keys in it for a half an hour, go in and go to some grocery shopping, and probably come out and 90% likely your car would still be there running in the parking lot. So that's just part of living in a rural area. It's a little bit less likely to be stolen and things like that. If you're involved in a collision, if you get into a collision, okay, there's a couple things I recommend. The first thing I recommend is notifying the police. Okay, even if it's a fender bender in the Walmart parking lot, it's a good idea to get the police there because you don't know what's going to happen. You might have bumped a car. 6 hours later, that person goes to the hospital because their neck is stiff, and they come out with a broken collarbone or some other thing that they didn't know they had, or maybe their leg's injured because of the way you bumped the car. If the police come, they can do another report. And they can kind of take all the information in. They'll get witness statements, things like that. So I always notify the police. It doesn't make everybody happy. I've been in small fender bender accidents where I said I'm going to call the cops on my cell phone, and the person gets really angry with me, but I dial 911, and at that point, what are they going to do? I'm on the phone with the police. So it's a good idea to get the police involved. You obviously are obligated to assist the injured, and you're obligated to exchange information with that person, insurance information and everything else, especially if there's damage. Okay? It's just a good idea. Okay, and again, if you're the first person at a collision, maybe you see a collision, or you get in a collision but you didn't get hurt real bad. Your first obligation in a collision is to check for injuries and call 911. Okay, especially if it's a massive collision. There was an accident a number of years ago in Warsaw. A car blew a stop sign. I was up about a quarter mile behind it when it happened, and I pulled over and I went up to both cars, made sure everybody was okay, and I dialed 911. When the police got there and the fire department got there, at that point I was free to leave. Okay, but just do the right thing. Okay, if you see an accident, pull over, help out. Sometimes it's just a matter of having a person there because the person's all shooken up or in shock. Okay, so be that good person once in a while. Okay. We talked about it early in the course when we watched the National Driving Quiz back over almost a year ago. If your brakes are failing, what's the first thing you should do? Pump your brakes. Okay? Everything we've talked about up to this point is based around accidents and basic things. We're going to get a little more into some of the adverse conditions you can get into when you're out there. When your car rides in a sheet of rain, okay, which it often can. If it's raining really, really hard, your car can actually lift up a little bit on the water, and that's called hydroplaning. Okay? It's just a term you need to know. Okay, and we're going to watch a little video later on hydroplaning. I have a real short, 1 minute video that I'm going to post, and that's going to be on hydroplaning. Okay, when your vehicle begins to skid, you need to do one of two things, depending on how the skid happened. If it's from hitting the brakes too hard, you're going to ease off the brakes. If it was accelerating too fast into a curve, you want to ease off the accelerator. That's the first thing you want to do, okay? Because then you can start getting control of that car again. As your car starts to slow down or as the braking lets off, sometimes it'll straighten the car out, okay? So those are things that you want to kind of look at, okay? One of the things you want to look at, too, is what type of devices do I use in a skid or I'm heading towards an emergency situation, things like that. A lot of times in the wintertime, if you're heading towards a skid, okay, you might be able to straighten that car out just by tapping the accelerator slightly. You don't want to gun it. You don't want to do it real fast because then it'll start, spinning the tires and things like that, and you'll lose control. But sometimes that accelerator is not used as much as it should be in an emergency situation. Okay, so just kind of be aware of that. A common cause of skid, we just talked about two of them. It's either usually accelerating too fast into a curve or braking too hard. Those are the two reasons most of the time that we end up in a skid. And even on ice, okay? If you end up skidding on ice, it wasn't just the ice. You probably approached it too fast and then started sliding as you hit the ice patch. Okay? So braking hard and accelerating too fast are usually the reasons why we skid. Okay? When you're driving and encounter heavy fog and snow, okay, bright lights typically don't work. Okay? And so what you want to do, hold on a second here. I don't know why my phone's ringing, but we'll let it ring. We'll let that answer machine pick that up, the voicemail. So when you're driving and you encounter heavy fog, you want to reduce your speed. I'm sorry about this, guys. And you want to make sure that your low beam headlights are on. Okay, don't put your high beams on because the high beams will interfere with the moisture in the air and it'll reflect back at you. Same in snow. If you want to see a great example of that, go out in your driveway during a snowstorm and turn on your headlights and then put on the high beams and see how much less you can see. You just see basically a sheet of snow falling. Okay, so that's something you want to be aware of as well. Tire tread is real important. You got to have good tires on your car, especially living in Western New York. Okay, if you have poor tire tread, you're going to slide, you're going to hydroplane, you're going to slip on ice, all kinds of things. The better the tire tread, the less likely it is that you will hydroplane. Okay, it'll reduce it. It doesn't guarantee that you will never hydroplane, but it will reduce the amount of times you'll hydroplane. Okay, couple things I want to talk about. There's a couple questions on this quiz, and I'm going to go right through the questions, okay, because they're a little longer. You're going 45 miles per hour when a situation occurs that you must avoid a collision by either braking or steering. You have a clear path to your right. What should you do? Okay, you're going to use both steering and braking because it takes the less distance. They're combining. You're going to brake just slightly, steer to that clear path, and go that way. Okay, and try to avoid hitting that object or whatever you're going towards. Okay, the next thing is if a tire suddenly goes flat and you're driving, say your front your front tire goes flat, just blows out. Okay, it's going to scare you, first thing. Okay, the second piece is you want to look down that intended path of travel, let off the accelerator, let off the brake, and just slow down. Your car will slightly balance on three wheels for a very short time, and then as soon as you got a clear path, just kind of slide off to the side of the road. Okay, if you're at the right lane, then you can just kind of slide off into the shoulder. Okay, it's very scary when those things happen, but they do happen. Okay, this is your adverse conditions quiz. Okay, I will post the quiz on Google Classroom, and I'm going to post some other cool videos. The videos that I'm adding to this, other than the one I'm speaking right now, are very good. Okay, so you'll have some really neat stuff to look at. I got a couple things on driving on ice and a little bit on hydroplaning. So enjoy the videos, enjoy the content. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email me. I am here. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.